So Antigravity, which is Google's agentic ID, has now got skills. This really makes building AI agents much more efficient and faster than ever before. So in order to try these agentic skills, I actually built an auto machine learning agent. This machine learning agent will automatically figure out what kind of problem you're trying to solve, whether it is a regression, classification, or clustering problem. And then based on the file that you will upload, it will write the code automatically, it will create the insights automatically and present it in the form of dashboard. Now, of course, you can do all of these things by asking and giving it a prompt, but what if you have to do this multiple times across the organization? And that's where skills become very important. All right. So let's just see this in action, and then we will come back and try and understand how anti-gravity skills are a little bit different compared to the others out there. What are the core components and how you can go ahead and build yourself one. Okay. So let's get into it. All right. Right now I'm in anti-gravity and I'm already set up my agent and skills folder. I'm going to explain you all of these things in a little bit. If you have not downloaded anti-gravity, you can just go to antigravity.google. And this is where, depending on the machine type that you have, you should be able to download this. It's pretty simple. So I'm not going to spend any time on that. Once you've downloaded it, it opens up an interface like this, which will look very familiar as a VS Code. But then the most important component of Antigravity, which is very different, is the agent manager. This is where you are able to have complete multi-agent conversations right from the get-go. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, analyze this data, and then I'm going to give this data as this, so which is Q1 sales revenue, and segment the customers into group. And I'm going to press enter. Now, what's going to happen is it's going to go ahead and look into this particular skill. And then based on the skill, it's going to go ahead and figure out what needs to be written. So if you look at this right now, this is the structure of the skill. I've given it examples. I've given it some resources. But in any one of these examples, you will not see that there is any Python code here, right? So what it needs to do is given us an implementation plan. So it's going to, read the data, and then it's going to write a new file based on the skill that I've selected, right? So it's going to write a segment customer.py, and then it's going to create a new report, which is customer segment report.html. And then it's going to produce like insights for us, right? So that is the implementation plan that it has given because I've asked it from an agent mode, right? Now, let's look at the skill for a second so that we are very clear on what I had actually asked, right? So I gave the name to the skill, and then I explained what the skill is all about, which you are supposed to analyze a data set with machine learning and generate business insights to segment customers. I'm giving it a heads up on what needs to be done. And then I'm saying that as an auto ML analyst, right, like you need to transform the data into this. All throughout and so far and so forth, I've only given instructions in English. If the user wants to predict something, that means if there's a number or a category, then do not do clustering. Clustering is non-supervised. If the user wants to predict something, then you use classification or regression. And then run the algorithm. It'll create the code for running the algorithm itself, and then go ahead and do these things, right? Now, the cool thing about the skill here is you can actually provide some examples. So this is how classification would look like. Again, I have not written any single line of code here. I'm writing this instruction in pure English, but I'm giving some examples of what an output of classification should look like, what an output of a clustering should look like, what an output of a regression should look like. And then I'm giving it some example of the dashboard template. Again, it's totally up to you. These are all optionals. You don't have to give it, but if you provide it, you can standardize the skill across the company, right? So once I'm good with this, I'm just going to go back to the agent manager. I'm going to say, okay, proceed. Now it's going to, if I go back to the editor, it's going to run here. And the reason I'm coming back here is to show you that it has already started to write this particular customers.py, which was not there before, right? So it is doing that as we speak, and you can keep switching back and forth on the agent mode if you do not want to look into the terminal and stuff like that. But it is already doing its job, and it is now constructing the HTML report as such, right? So you see here, if this is a skill that I have already written, it is basically acting as a machine learning or data scientist for me. And because I've specified exactly the format and everything and exactly the color tone of the HTML report and stuff like that I want, this is very standardized. So imagine if you are running this at large scale in your organization, you will be able to use this skill across the board, and this will be very standard one that everybody should be able to use. So it has done its job and it has already created the report you can see over here. I'm just going to ask it to show me the report on the browser. Here it's going to preview, and there you go. Perfect. So this is the report. It's beautiful. Number of customers. There's 3 segments, sales data. The customer base divides into 3 different segments. The biggest opportunity is this. It's actually like running it for me right now. So you can see that getting DOMs is taking screenshots because I asked it, I gave it a command, but you can already see the kind of stuff that it has created already. Young enthusiasts, high value VIPs, steady professionals. So you can obviously go ahead and improve things. And if you look at this one is specifically for customer segmentation. I just want to make sure I show you the data once, right? So this is the data that we had given. You can see that there is no mention of the type of customer here. And this is real customer segmentation using k-means clustering for you, because it has automatically figured out 3 different groups, and it has also automatically gave it different names based on the insights, which is very cool. So that's the beauty of this agent, right? So this is the first one. Now I can do the same thing and use the same skill here. So now I can ask something like this. So instead of that one, I'm going to ask, okay, analyze this and predict. So just based on this, because I've asked it to predict, it is going to analyze again the file, and it is going to come back with a very different analysis. And that's the idea. So right now you're seeing a complete autonomous data scientist running. And I'm able to do this because I've created that skill. So once I've done that, then I don't have to create it multiple times. So right now it is predicting the lifetime value. We can look at the data here. So this is the data set that I have, customer ID, all of these things, and this is the lifetime value. So once it has done that, then I should be able to predict the lifetime value of the customer based on the new data that comes in, right? So that is the idea. So I'm just going to let the agent run. And again, you have the capability to control if you want to have the agent completely being autonomous. In this case, I've given controls to myself. So you have the capability to do this in the settings here. This is the secure mode that I've selected. You can unselect it in that way. It is just going to run on its own. But I just wanted to make sure I'm able to see what it is trying to do so that I can also explain you guys while it is taking some action, right? So that's the idea. This time it has created a new file, which is predict LTV, which was not the case before. So see, like all these new files have been created. This is the predict lifetime value Python file that it has created, which is fantastic. So I believe it has done the job, and now it should be creating the lifetime value report as well. So we'll see that in a second. Looks like it has completed the job. So I'm just going to ask it to show me the output in a browser. There you go. So it has done its job predicting lifetime value from customer behavior and demographics, R-square and mean absolute error, right? So you can see the performance of the model is pretty high, and you can see the different drivers which is driving the lifetime value of the customer. Average monthly spend is the highest one. And so these are like typical machine learning variables that you would see once you have created a regression algorithm, then which are the factors that lead to a particular prediction. That's what it is given. So it's fantastic. It's really doing its job. So I'm just going to quickly run the customer churn example as well, so that you can see that I am not selecting any algorithm or anything else for that matter, right? Because I have got the skill, it is automatically figuring out which particular path to take, which particular algorithm to run, how to analyze, how to present, which will make sense for the business. And that is the idea, which is why I said in the beginning that this is going to make the way agents work much more efficient. Okay. We'll give it a second so that we can also look at this output, and then we will get into a little bit of a deeper understanding of how anti-gravity agent skills are constructed. So you can see it has created the predict churn. This was again not there before. So you can see now this is a new file, net new file that it has created. Now it is generating the report. So it's a new HTML file that it's going to create. So it has done its job. And then here you have the customer churn report. You also see that it is giving you very different evaluation metric based on the machine learning algorithm it has selected. And it is already figuring out which are the customers which have high risk profile, top predictors, and then the executive summary. So you can see this is how, the skill was created, right? So if you look at the workflow, load the data, run the algorithm, generate insights, follow examples, and example for tone. So these are the examples, and then build the dashboard. You use the template and then summarize, give 2-sentence verbal takeaway, right? Of course, you can make it much, much more interesting and insightful. I just wanted to create something pretty quickly for you guys to see. But the key message, which probably I'm repeating once again, is you do not have to now think about giving the agent additional instructions while you're running different types of problems. This saves a lot of tokens. This allows the context to remain standardized across the board. And this is one of the most efficient ways for you to be building agents as we move forward in 2026. All right. So let's now take a few minutes to really quickly understand the skills structure, right? So you see here the examples, the resources, the skills.md, etc. I just want to take a few minutes to explain that, and then I will also share some resources that you can use to build something like this yourself. All right, let's get into it. So to understand skills, it is the most easiest to come to the actual documentation of Antigravity. Now, skills is not something which is new, right? It has very quickly become an open standard. It's originally released by Anthropic and open sourced, and now being used everywhere across the board. Obviously, Claude is from Anthropic, but then Gemini has got skills as well. In the CLI, I talked about it in the last video, and now Antigravity has skills as well, right? Which is pretty cool. I think it is a great way for different IDs and different kind of large language models to reuse, have a standard available out there. Now, if you look at this, so there are two types of skills that you can create. One can be a workspace specific. So if I go back here, this is the workspace here, right? So these are the workspaces. You can create a skill which stays in this particular folder, which is workspace specific, or you can create like a global skill, right? So this is where it will be under this particular folder. So those are two types of skills that you can create. Now, within skills, you obviously need a skills.md, which is the most critical part of it. Now, when I was creating this demo, I actually created just one skills.md and had like everything combined in that. But then I thought it's better to showcase the possibilities of scripts, examples, and resources. So if you look again, like this is, all these dot files were just created. But if you look at, how I've structured it, you can see the examples here. And this is where it's giving you an example of individual models, right? Clustering and regression. And then resources was also something which I gave, right? So the key here is the more specific you are, the better it is from a standardization perspective. You are not letting the agent and the large language model do the guesswork, which saves you a lot of tokens, right? So if you have a repetitive task and you want it to be in a very specific format, skills is the way to go. So that's why you can have a structure like this. And the cool thing about Antigravity's agentic mode is it will go ahead and discover and figure out which skills are the right one to be used based on the question that you're asking, right? So that is something which Antigravity does a really good job. And then there are some best practices here, and they have also given an example skill for you guys to review, right? So that is what I wanted to share with you on the best practices and the structure of what skills are. Within Antigravity, there's a ton of different things that we can talk about. We can create like a full-blown website, which is animated, has the backend connected to Firebase and all of those kind of interesting things. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. There are just so many Antigravity videos out there. So I just want to make sure if I'm creating something, it will actually add value. So if you guys have any specific questions, or if you think you need a specific kind of video on Antigravity, please let me know. I'll be happy to make it, because there's just a lot of interesting things that we can cover in Antigravity. But that was all what I wanted to cover for today. I basically wanted you guys to see the skills in action, which can really optimize the way agents work. And this one was a very interesting one because I was also able to combine my own skills, human skills, which was machine learning, in an agentic format. So now you can create like an auto ML automatically. All right. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section. If this video added any value to you guys, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe if you're interested in getting these kind of updates and new demos. Thank you once again for your time. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.